A female mechanic from a small-town garage just fixed a broke woman's classic Mustang for free, without knowing it would change her entire life. She didn't have investors, a big shop, or even enough money to pay her own bills, just old tools, a stubborn heart, and a belief that kindness still matters. What happened next? That broke woman returned with a line of luxury supercars and a plan to transform the humble mechanic's shop into a movement. This powerful story of how a female mechanic's free repair sparked a wave of generosity will stay with you long after it ends. Before we dive in, tell us, where in the world are you watching from? If you enjoy stories like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button because tomorrow's episode is truly mind-blowing. Let's get started. Olivia brushed the dust off her hands as the creaky old garage door rattled open. It wasn't much peeling paint, a cracked concrete floor, and a sign so faded you had to squint to read it, Maple Hollow Auto. The town was small, forgotten by most maps, and so was her shop. Still, Olivia showed up every morning, clinging to stubborn hope, even when the phone hadn't rung in days. That morning, as the chill of autumn crept through the trees, a battered '68 Mustang coughed into her lot, steam hissing angrily from beneath the hood. The woman who stepped out looked like life had wrung her dry, early 30s. Maybe younger, but her eyes carried years of exhaustion. Her clothes hung loose, her shoes were worn thin, and her wallet, Olivia guessed, was empty. I don't have any money, the woman whispered, eyes darting as if expecting to be told off. Olivia glanced at her own battered tools, then at the Mustang's cracked front grille. She smiled softly. I didn't ask for any. Neither of them knew it yet. But that moment, a simple act of kindness was about to send ripples far beyond the borders of their sleepy little town. The woman's name was Charlotte. She said it so quietly. Olivia barely caught it as she popped the Mustang's hood. The engine was a mess, rusted parts, a radiator that had given up, and belts hanging on for dear life. Olivia let out a low whistle. You're lucky it made it here in one piece. Charlotte bit her lip, fidgeting with her frayed jacket. I was hoping... Maybe you'd let me pay later. I just needed to get somewhere safe. Olivia's heart clenched. She'd heard stories like this before. Folks passing through, down on their luck, looking for miracles in places miracles had long left. But there was something in Charlotte's voice, a kind of quiet desperation, raw and unpolished. Olivia had mouths to feed, bills stacked on the workbench, and a bank account that had been gasping for air for months. But she also had a conscience that refused to rust over. Leave it here, Olivia said, wiping her hands. I'll take care of it. Charlotte's eyes widened, glassy with disbelief. Wait, really? Olivia gave a lopsided grin. Yeah, I've been where you are. Charlotte tried to protest, but Olivia had already disappeared into the garage, rolling up her sleeves like it was any other job. She didn't expect to see Charlotte again. People made promises like I'll pay you back all the time. But Olivia wasn't fixing that Mustang for money. She was fixing it because it needed to be done. That night, long after the sun had tucked behind the hills, Olivia stayed hunched over the Mustang's engine. She patched what could be patched, swapped out a spare battery she had lying around, and even polished the hood until it gleamed like a ghost of its former glory. It wasn't perfect, but it would run. By dawn, Charlotte returned. She stood in the doorway, stunned, as Olivia tossed her the keys. She's good to go. Why would you do this for me? Charlotte's voice cracked under the weight of unspoken burdens. Olivia shrugged, masking the knot forming in her own throat. You looked like you needed someone to believe in you. That's enough. Charlotte introduced herself properly then, offering a smile that carried a different kind of gratitude, Not the transactional kind, but the kind that says, "You reminded me people like you still exist." She drove off, leaving Olivia with a strange ache in her chest. The kind that wasn't quite sadness, but wasn't joy either. Olivia figured that was the end of it. She was wrong. By mid-afternoon, the gravel outside her shop trembled beneath the weight of cars that didn't belong in a town like Maple Hollow. Olivia was elbow-deep in an oil change when the first engine purred onto her lot. Not the sputtering wheeze she was used to, but a smooth, low hum, the kind of sound money made. She wiped her hands and stepped outside, expecting maybe a lost tourist asking for directions. What she saw made her heart skip a beat. A gleaming black Aston Martin eased to a stop, followed by a silver Porsche, a cherry-red Ferrari, and a caravan of luxury machines that seemed absurdly out of place against the cracked walls of her humble garage. Olivia blinked, half expecting to wake up any moment. Supercars in Maple Hollow. That was rarer than snow in July. One by one, impeccably dressed drivers stepped out, surveying her lot with the precision of art collectors. Among them was a man in a sharp navy suit, his sunglasses reflecting the old sign hanging above Olivia's shop. "Olivia Bennett," he asked, his tone polite but firm. "That's me," Olivia said cautiously, glancing at the fleet of luxury vehicles. "Who's asking?" The man smiled, reaching into his blazer and handing her a sleek, embossed envelope. "You're invited." Olivia opened it, her fingers trembling. Inside was a single white card, elegant and simple. The message was just as curious as the cars outside. "You restored someone's faith. Now, it's time we restore yours." Before she could process those words, the back door of the Aston Martin swung open, and Charlotte stepped out. But she wasn't the worn-down traveler from the day before. No. This Charlotte carried herself differently now, her hair tied back neatly, her coat tailored to perfection, and a quiet confidence in her stride that made the world slow down. Olivia's breath caught. Charlotte. She smiled, a warmth in her expression that could melt stone. "It's actually Charlotte Whitmore. My family owns Whitmore Motors. Yesterday. I left all that behind because I needed to find someone real, someone kind, someone who wouldn't see a price tag when they looked at me." Olivia stood frozen, a wrench still in her hand. As Charlotte continued, "You didn't just fix my car, Olivia. You reminded me what integrity looks like, and now we're going to fix your shop." One of the men stepped forward, presenting Olivia with a folder. Inside were plans of full-scale renovation, top-tier equipment, a financial grant that dwarfed anything Olivia had seen in her lifetime. Olivia's hands trembled as she held the folder. But her heart, it was pounding with something new, something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Olivia barely slept that night. The folder Charlotte had handed her sat on the kitchen table like a golden ticket she was too afraid to touch. She kept flipping through the pages, half expecting the numbers to vanish or for some cruel fine print to appear. But it was real, every last word. By morning, the gravel lot outside Maple Hollow Auto had transformed. Trucks rolled in, unloading crates of brand-new tools. Construction crews swarmed the shop, measuring walls, sketching blueprints, and examining every inch of the place Olivia had patched together with duct tape and determination for the past decade. She stood there in her oil-stained coveralls, feeling completely out of place among architects and designers in polished shoes. A tall woman in a hard hat approached, clipboard in hand. "You must be Miss Bennett. We're here to start the transformation." "Transformation," Olivia echoed, the word foreign in her mouth. The woman smiled. "Miss Whitmore is funding a complete rebuild, state-of-the-art equipment, solar roofing, digital diagnostics, customer lounge the works, Oh, and she insisted we keep the original Maple Hollow Auto sign. Said it's part of the soul. Olivia's throat tightened. For a moment, she couldn't speak. This was really happening. By noon, Charlotte arrived, this time in a modest electric car, dressed casually in jeans and a hoodie, as if to blend into the commotion. But her presence still made the chaotic scene settle. She walked beside Olivia as they watched the old garage get stripped down to its bones. "I don't just want to fix this place up," Charlotte said, her tone softer now. "Personal. I want to build something bigger, a space where people can come not just for repairs, but for hope." Olivia raised an eyebrow. "Bigger than fixing cars." Charlotte's smile grew. A community initiative. Free repairs for families who can't afford them, workshops to teach kids real skills, a mentorship program for teens who feel like no one sees them. "I'll fund everything. But Olivia, I want you to lead it." Olivia's heart pounded. She wasn't a leader. She was a mechanic who barely kept her head above water. Yet here was this woman, this powerful, poised woman looking at her like she was exactly what the world needed. "Why me?" Olivia asked, voice cracking. Charlotte didn't hesitate. "Because when no one was watching, you made the right choice. That's rarer than any qualification on a resume." Olivia looked back at the shop. Now a skeleton of beams and dust, memories clinging to every dented wall being torn down. This garage wasn't just a business. It was her father's legacy, her childhood playground, her safe haven. And now, it was being reborn not just with bricks and glass, but with purpose. Word spread through town faster than wildfire. Locals who had long given up on Maple Hollow stopped by, wide-eyed and buzzing with rumors. Some were true, most were wildly exaggerated. But one thing was clear. Olivia Bennett was no longer just the quiet mechanic with grease-stained hands. She was becoming something bigger than she had ever imagined. Within a week, what was once a forgotten corner of town had turned into a spectacle. People drove in from neighboring counties just to see the rising steel frame and sleek glass panels of what was quickly becoming the most advanced automotive facility in the region. But it wasn't about the building. Something deeper was shifting. The day the new sign went up, Maple Hollow Auto and Community Garage, Olivia stood beneath it, her hands trembling. Beneath the bold logo, in smaller silver script, were the words she had insisted on, powered by kindness. Open to all. She wasn't ready for what came next. One afternoon, as she was going over supply lists, a teenage boy shuffled into the shop. His name was Matteo. His shoelaces were untied, his shoulders slumped, and he couldn't meet Olivia's gaze. "My mom's car broke down a few blocks away," he muttered. "She's working double shifts. We can't fix it." Olivia didn't hesitate. She sent a tow truck free of charge. The next morning, Matteo returned alone. Can I learn what you do?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Olivia handed him a pair of gloves. "We'll start with an oil change." Word spread. More teens followed. Olivia built a workbench just for them, teaching not just how to use a wrench, but how to take pride in the work of their hands. Some of these kids had been skipping school. Some had never known a father figure. But in Olivia's garage, they found both guidance and dignity. Charlotte watched quietly from the sidelines. She visited often, always blending in, always refusing credit. When reporters came asking why she had chosen Olivia, Charlotte would only smile and say, "Because she chose people." Olivia had always believed that hard work and quiet persistence were enough. She never cared for attention, never craved recognition. But standing in the middle of her half-built shop, surrounded by buzzing crews and curious onlookers, she realized that the quiet corners she had hidden in for so long were no longer hers to keep. One evening, as the autumn sky painted the horizon in gold and violet, Olivia found herself sitting on the back steps of the garage, watching Matteo and a few other teens wrestle with a stubborn brake caliper. Their laughter echoed off the steel beams, their faces lit with a spark she hadn't seen in a long time. "I thought this was going to be about fixing cars," Olivia muttered, half to herself. Charlotte, who had slipped in unnoticed, took a seat beside her. "It is. But you're also fixing people. Olivia. You just didn't know it yet." Olivia chuckled softly. "I'm no savior, Charlotte. I'm just someone who knows what it's like to need a break." Charlotte's gaze softened. "That's exactly why you're the right person for this." Just as the moment settled into a quiet reflection, a commotion stirred at the front lot. A matte black Lamborghini Urus pulled in, kicking up gravel like a storm. The door swung open, and out stepped a man in his early 40s, dressed in business casual but with an unmistakable aura of power. He wasn't like the others who had come curious, cautious, grateful. This man had purpose. Olivia Bennett, he called, walking toward her with a confidence that turned heads. Olivia stood, wiping her hands on her coveralls. "That's me. You looking for a repair?" "Not exactly." He extended his hand. "My name's Marcus Hale, CEO of Hale Dynamics." The name sent a ripple through Charlotte, who instantly stood straighter. Olivia caught the shift in her posture. "I've heard about what you're building here," Marcus continued, "and I think we need to talk." Within minutes, Olivia found herself in an impromptu meeting in the garage office, with Charlotte sitting quietly in the corner, observing Marcus with a sharpness Olivia hadn't seen before. Marcus laid it out bluntly. "I'm not here to invest in fairy tales, but I respect results. What you're doing, this mentorship program, the free repairs there's potential, corporate partnerships, tax credits, PR opportunities. I can turn this place into a flagship initiative." Olivia's stomach twisted. It sounded like a business pitch, not a mission of kindness. "You want to make this a brand story?" Olivia asked. Her tone clipped. "I want to amplify what you're already doing," Marcus replied smoothly. "You need resources. I can bring them. But let's not pretend this isn't mutually beneficial." Charlotte leaned forward then, her voice like steel wrapped in silk. "And what happens when the story fades?" Marcus. "When the cameras leave, will you still be here?" For the first time, Marcus's confidence faltered. He looked at Olivia, measuring her. "I'm not looking for a PR stunt," Olivia said firmly. "This place, it's not about optics. It's about giving people a hand when no one else will." Marcus nodded slowly. "Fair. But when you're ready to think bigger, you have my card." He placed it on the desk, standing up with the kind of smile that promised he wasn't done yet. After he left, the room felt heavy. Charlotte sighed. "He's not wrong about scale, Olivia. But we'll do it on your terms. Always." That night, Olivia stood outside, watching the sign glow softly against the night sky. She thought about Marcus's offer, about Charlotte's unwavering belief in her, and about Matteo, who had come back that afternoon beaming because he had successfully fixed his first set of brakes. It wasn't about her anymore. It never had been. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. Miss Bennett, a woman's voice. Hesitant, but urgent. "You don't know me. My name's Sarah. I heard about what you're doing. My husband lost his job, and our van's broken down. We can't get to his interviews. I didn't know who else to call." Olivia's throat tightened. The universe wasn't waiting. people needed her now. "Bring it in," Olivia said, without missing a beat. "We'll take care of it." As she hung up, Charlotte appeared beside her, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Another one." Olivia smiled, a fire igniting behind her eyes. "Yeah, another one." In that moment, Olivia's perspective shifted. She wasn't just running a garage, she was building a movement, one repair at a time, one person at a time. And no corporate handshake or press release could define what was growing here. But Olivia also knew the next challenge would test her heart, more than any broken engine ever could. The next morning, as the autumn sun crept over Maple Hollow, Olivia found herself staring at a line of vehicles snaking around the block. Not luxury cars this time, but everyday minivans, battered pickups, old sedans held together with more hope than bolts. Word had spread. People who had given up on mechanics because they simply couldn't afford it were now parked outside her half-built garage, waiting not just for repairs, but for a chance. Mateo was already at the workbench, setting out tools with the kind of pride Olivia had seen in seasoned techs. The other teens followed, sleeves rolled up, ready to work. Olivia couldn't help but smile. What had started as a patch job on a stranger's car had become something far greater, and it was moving faster than she could have ever imagined. Then, in the middle of this growing storm of activity, Charlotte appeared, holding a manila envelope. She had that look again, the one that said something big was coming. "I've been thinking." "Olivia," Charlotte said, falling into step beside her as they navigated between vehicles and volunteers. "What if this movement we've started didn't have to be limited to Maple Hollow?" Olivia paused, wiping grease from her hands. "What are you getting at?" Charlotte handed her the envelope. Inside were blueprints, proposals, maps marked with pins in neighboring towns. "I want to build satellite garages," Charlotte continued, her voice trembling with excitement. "Community-driven, just like this. Places where people can come not just to fix cars, but to fix their futures. I'll handle the funding, but I need you to be the heartbeat of it." Olivia's hands tightened around the papers. The idea was overwhelming. It was one thing to run a garage, another to lead a movement that could ripple across entire regions. "I'm a mechanic. Charlotte, I don't know how to run franchises or—" Charlotte placed a firm hand on her shoulder. "You don't need to. You just need to keep doing what you're already doing, lead with kindness. We'll find the right people to handle the business side. But you're the reason this works." Before Olivia could answer, her phone buzzed. Another unknown number. "Hello? Miss Bennett. This time—" The voice was shaky. "A man on the verge of breaking. I'm a single dad. My daughter's supposed to start school next week. Our car won't even start. I heard you're the one to call." Olivia's heart clenched. She glanced out at the lot filled with people who had no one else to turn to. "Bring it in," she said, her voice steady. Charlotte smiled knowingly. "You don't say no to anyone, do you?" "Would you?" Olivia shot back, a smirk tugging at the corner of her lips. That afternoon, amidst the noise of drills and the scent of fresh lumber, a small press crew showed up. Olivia's first instinct was to shoo them away, but Charlotte stopped her. "Let them see, Olivia. Let the world see what happens when kindness is given a place to breathe." With cameras rolling, Olivia didn't deliver a speech. She didn't pose for pictures. She did what she always did, grabbed a wrench, slid under a car, and started working. The teens followed suit, Mateo proudly showing a new volunteer how to check brake lines. The news segment aired that evening. It wasn't polished, it wasn't rehearsed, but it struck a chord. By the next day, Olivia's inbox was flooded with messages not from corporations, but from people, mechanics in other towns wanting to volunteer, parents offering to teach life skills, retired tradesmen eager to mentor. But amid the flood of support came an email that stood out. It was from a foundation, the Leland Initiative, one of the largest philanthropic organizations in the country. They had seen the broadcast and wanted to meet. They weren't offering a donation. They were proposing a partnership to create a nationwide network of community garages modeled after Maple Hollow Auto. Charlotte nearly burst with excitement when Olivia showed her the email. "You're not just fixing cars anymore. Olivia, you're about to change how this country thinks about helping each other." Olivia, overwhelmed, sat back against the shop wall, staring up at the new sign. The words "powered by kindness" had never felt heavier, or more true. "I never wanted to be a symbol," Olivia whispered. Charlotte smiled. "Good. Symbols don't get their hands dirty. You do." Olivia didn't know what the future would look like, but she knew this every oil-stained glove, every teenager who found purpose at that workbench, every family that drove away with more hope than they came in with, that was the real blueprint. The opportunity wasn't in the paperwork, it was in the people. Olivia never saw herself as a leader. She was the one who fixed things from the shadows engines, belts, lives on occasion, but always with her head down, never seeking the spotlight. Yet now, as she stood in the middle of her rebuilt garage, surrounded by teenagers hanging on her every word, she realized that leadership had found her anyway. It wasn't in boardrooms or behind podiums. It was here, with dirt under her nails, grease on her sleeves, teaching Matteo how to listen to the rhythm of an engine. She had grown, not by changing who she was, but by fully becoming it. Matteo had transformed too. Once a slouched, quiet boy who barely made eye contact, now he guided new volunteers with quiet confidence. Olivia watched him with a mix of pride and disbelief as he explained torque specs to a group of younger kids. She hadn't just fixed a car that day. She had ignited something in him, in all of them. One afternoon, as Olivia was calibrating a new alignment machine, Charlotte pulled her aside, holding a tablet. "Olivia, look at this." On the screen was a map. Pins dotted across it, each one representing a town that had reached out, wanting to replicate Maple Hollow Auto and Community Garage. But this time, it wasn't corporate proposals. It was personal. Small-town mechanics, community organizers, single mothers wanting to start something similar in their own backyards. "It's happening," Charlotte said, her eyes glistening. "People are starting to believe this isn't just a story. It's a blueprint." Olivia exhaled slowly. "We'll need people who understand what this really is. Not just more shops, but more hearts that aren't for sale." Charlotte grinned. "That's where you come in. They don't need CEOs. Olivia, they need mentors." It was a daunting thought, scaling kindness, teaching others to lead with their hands and hearts. But for the first time, Olivia didn't feel fear. She felt responsibility. But fate wasn't done testing her. One evening, as Olivia closed the garage, her phone rang. It was Matteo's mother. She sounded panicked. "It's Matteo," she said, her voice shaking. "He's been picked up by the police. Wrong place. Wrong time. They're saying it's a misunderstanding, but they won't release him without an adult advocate." Olivia's heart dropped. Matteo had come so far, he didn't deserve this. Without thinking, Olivia grabbed her keys and was out the door. At the station, Matteo sat in a cold chair, his shoulders hunched like they were before she met him. But when he saw Olivia walk in, something shifted. His posture straightened. Relief washed over his face. "I told them you'd come," he said softly. Olivia faced the officer, calm but firm. "This boy works at my garage. He's under my mentorship. If you're done wasting his time, we've got more important things to do." The officer, sensing the fire behind her words, released Matteo without further delay. As they walked out into the night, Matteo broke the silence. I thought I messed up everything you gave me." Olivia stopped, resting a hand on his shoulder. "Matteo, you're going to mess up. So will I. What matters is that you don't stay down." That moment solidified something in Olivia. Mentorship wasn't about teaching kids to tighten bolts. It was about giving them a place to fall without being broken. The next day, Olivia called a meeting with her growing team of volunteers, mentors, and even Charlotte. "We're not building garages," she told them, her voice steady, but charged with emotion. "We're building second chances, and from now on, this place isn't just for fixing cars, it's for fixing whatever life breaks, be it engines, hopes, or confidence." The teens, the volunteers, even the older mechanics, looked at her with a respect that transcended titles. Later that evening, Matteo presented Olivia with a crude wooden plaque he had made himself. It read, "Olivia Bennett's Garage of Second Chances." She laughed, eyes misty. "It's not just my garage anymore, kiddo. It's ours." As the days turned into weeks, Olivia's garage became a sanctuary, not because of the fancy equipment or the shiny new logo, but because of the people within it. Kids who had been written off found purpose. Families who had nowhere else to turn found hope. And Olivia, she didn't need a business card to know who she had become. She was still a mechanic, but now she was also the architect of a movement. 2 months later, Olivia found herself in a place she never imagined she'd be standing on stage at a charity gala in the heart of the city. The ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers, the crowd a sea of suits and evening gowns. Cameras flashed, executives whispered. But Olivia stood there in her simple black dress, feeling like a grease-stained glove in a world of silk. She wasn't here for the spotlight. She was here because kindness had dragged her into it. As the murmurs quieted, the event host stepped up to the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, we honor a woman who turned a simple act of generosity into a movement, a mechanic who didn't just fix a broken-down car, but sparked a revolution of compassion. Please welcome Olivia Bennett." The applause roared, but Olivia's heart stayed steady. She approached the mic, gripping the edges like a wrench. "I'm not a speaker," she began, her voice cutting through the grand hall. "I fix things. Engines, mostly. But sometimes, life drops a problem in your lap that can't be solved with tools." She scanned the crowd, her eyes finding Charlotte, standing off to the side, her gaze filled with pride and quiet encouragement. Then, she spotted Matteo, dressed in an ill-fitting suit, but standing tall. "A while back, a woman pulled into my shop. Her car was falling apart, and so was her life. She said, 'I don't have any money.' I told her, 'I didn't ask for any.' The room held its breath. I wasn't trying to change the world that day. I was just doing what felt right. But what I didn't know was that small kindnesses, they don't stay small. They multiply." She paused, letting the silence carry the weight of her words. "Every kid who walked into my garage thinking they weren't worth a damn. They taught me more than I ever taught them. They reminded me that people don't need saving. They need someone to believe in them long enough for them to believe in themselves." The applause built again, but Olivia wasn't done. "I'm not here because of business plans or strategies. I'm here because people like Charlotte Whitmore chose to use their power to lift someone up instead of looking down. And because of a boy named Matteo, who reminded me that second chances aren't given. They're built with time, patience, and a whole lot of busted knuckles." The crowd rose, clapping louder now, but Olivia's heart remained grounded. This wasn't about her. As the applause faded, Charlotte stepped onto the stage, holding a sleek envelope. She approached Olivia with a grin. "You deserve the world, Olivia, but tonight, we're going to help you build one." Olivia's brow furrowed as she took the envelope and opened it. Inside was a deed, not to a shop, but to a sprawling 15-acre facility just outside Maple Hollow, a state-of-the-art learning center, workshop hubs, and housing for mentorship programs, a community sanctuary designed to give those forgotten by society a place to rebuild. Olivia's breath caught. The paper in her hands felt heavier than steel. "This isn't a donation," Charlotte said, addressing the crowd. "This is an investment in people, in futures, and Olivia will be at the helm." For a moment, Olivia felt the weight of every late-night repair, every unpaid bill, every time she had wondered if the world still had space for people who gave without expecting anything back. Now, standing on that stage, she knew. Kindness had not only come full circle, it had built a legacy. Later that night, Olivia sat beneath the stars, the city skyline a faint glow in the distance. She held the deed in her hands. But her mind was back in her little garage, back where it all began. The thought struck her. Then she had never set out to change lives. She had simply refused to let hardship harden her. And maybe, just maybe, that was the lesson the world had been waiting to remember. As the night breeze rustled the papers in her lap, her phone buzzed once more. Miss Bennett, a hesitant voice came through. "My name's Lily. I heard about what you're doing. I have no one else to call." Olivia smiled, the kind that comes from knowing your purpose. "You called the right person. Maybe the real question isn't, how can we change the world, but what am I willing to do when no one's watching? Because in the end, legacies aren't built by grand gestures. They're built by simple acts of decency that refuse to die." And if that idea unsettles you, if it makes you wonder whether you've walked past too many Olivia moments in your own life, that's the point. This isn't the end. 2 more life-changing stories are waiting for you. Click to keep building with us, and don't forget to hit subscribe if you believe kindness is worth fighting for.